How's it hanging, Jack Tackers, and welcome back to another video for you guys. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 4 seasons of Succession from the worst to the best. With the conclusion of the final season, I think it's time we look back on all of the installments and figure out which ones we like more than others. But I'll be upfront with you guys. This is an incredibly stupid video to make because I genuinely love all of these seasons. I think each season brings something to the table. And yeah, I truly like all of them, so just keep in mind that if I do happen to rank your favorite season at the bottom, that doesn't mean I hate it or anything. Succession's one of my all-time favorite TV shows now, and it means a lot to me, so doing this ranking's honestly almost like picking which kid is your favorite, I guess. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the season I have ranked at number 1, though, I'm fairly confident about that one being the best. But anyways, with all that being said, let's just get on into the ranking. Starting off with number 4, my least favorite season of Succession is season 4. The final season, the newest season, and it really pains me to put it in last because it does so many great things. And right off the bat, I'll let you guys know that I actually think the finale is quite good, especially the more I think about it, and now that it's been a few days since it ended, the finale has kind of soaked into my brain. And, I've come to the conclusion that I really do like the way the show ended. Of course, I'm super sad Kendall didn't end up being CEO, but ultimately, as Jesse Armstrong has said countless times, Succession is a tragedy, and in this story, the bad guys won. Well, everyone in this show is basically a bad guy, but that's besides the point. Kendall lost, and now it's, pretty much over for him. It's incredibly tragic. If you wanted a happy ending, go watch Ted Lasso. But yeah, the final episode's really strong overall. Now, in terms of why I decided to rank this season last, it really just comes down to the fact that I kind of feel like it peaks a little too early, and there's a bit of a lull in the middle portion of this season. So obviously you have episode 3, Connor's wedding, where Logan dies, and I absolutely adore that episode. It's really well executed. The directing, acting, the way it was all filmed truly was a brilliant episode. However, the show now has to build up to something big again, and that, of course, being the finale, or, I guess you could argue election night. And all the stuff with the Gojo deal and Matsson sometimes got a little dull, if I'm being honest. Now, I'm not necessarily saying I was bored, but I just don't think the middle chunk of this season is as good as it could have been. The Gojo deal really felt like a weird roundabout way to getting someone crowned as the successor, and I don't know, ultimately it does all pay off in the final episode. Well, at least in my opinion. But I just kind of wish this season was structured a bit differently. I don't know, dare I say Logan was killed off a bit too early and should have died in episode 6? Anyways, long story short, season 4 of Succession will still go down as one of the best final seasons of a TV show. But at the end of the day, I just like these other 3 a little more. So, moving on to number 3, I have season 3. This is where things get tricky. I pretty much have no negatives with this one. Of course, this is the season that was affected by COVID and therefore only was able to have 9 episodes instead of 10. But I think the story that unfolds in this season is still really damn strong and intriguing overall. Coming off of the season 2 finale, I was so hyped to see where things would go. And the first episode of this season was great. It felt super tense, fast-paced, and it was just all-out war between Logan and Kendall. I loved it. I do think the season does start to slow down for a couple episodes after this, and honestly, that's more of a nitpick. Besides, it manages to pick back up pretty quickly. Episodes like Retired Janitors of Idaho, Too Much Birthday, and All the Bells Say are genuinely some of the best episodes in the entire series. I especially love just how fun Too Much Birthday was. Seeing just how over-the-top Kendall's party was made me laugh my ass off. And the finale left off on an amazing note with Tom betraying Shiv, and the final interaction Logan and the kids have is just absolutely riveting. That's one of my favorite scenes. It has some just astonishing acting, and it really was pretty remarkable. You also have the introduction of Lucas Matsson in the Gojo deal this season, and Matsson's such a fun character. Alexander Skarsgård plays him so well. Another good moment of this season is, the episode I mentioned earlier, Retired Janitors of Idaho, where Logan forgets to take his medication at the shareholders meeting and starts to become, senile. That was pretty crazy and exciting to watch play out. Really intense. I actually really like what they did with Tom this season as well, even though I ended up hating him by the end of the season. But the storyline with him kind of, stressing out about potentially going to prison was really interesting for his character, to be honest. I actually felt kind of bad for him at certain moments. The scene where he finally finds out he doesn't have to go to prison and celebrates with Greg by flipping over his desk, never fails to make me laugh. That scene's insane. Anyways, the reason this season's ranked only at number 3, though, truly comes down to the fact that I just like these other 2 seasons more. There's really not a lot you can say that can knock this season down. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to number 2, which is season 2. This is a pretty damn near perfect season of television, and honestly, the only reason it's not ranked at number 1 is because it was just too damn frustrating to see Kendall be Logan's bitch throughout the entire season. As a big Kendall fan, it definitely pissed me off seeing him being so loyal to his dad, and there are so many moments this season where it just feels like he's trapped and almost being, tortured by Logan. Of course, this made a lot of sense for the story, and this was without a doubt what the writers wanted to portray. Kendall wants his dad protection, but, the way he finally snaps out of it in the finale was so damn satisfying. One of the best moments in the show. He gets to stand up against Logan and decides he's not going to be some fall guy. I also love the small little grin that Logan has when he watches his son finally become, a killer. Man, Kendall was just such a badass in that scene. And overall, this season just has some fantastic episodes. Hunting is a great one. That's the episode with Boar on the floor. Oh my gosh, I love that scene. Safe Room is also another favorite of mine. I love the L to the OG rap this season. It's absolutely hilarious and unironically goes hard. It's a banger. I really like Rhea's character this season as well. I thought she was a good addition, and I wish we saw more of her. She's kind of underrated in my opinion. I love the moment when Logan tells Shiv she's going to be the successor, but when they meet up with the Pierces, he backs out of that. Such a dick move. And I think this season does a terrific job at fleshing out some of the other characters as well. I loved seeing Tom and Greg's interesting relationship continue to blossom. And speaking of relationships, the stuff with Jerry and Roman this season is some of the strangest stuff in the entire show. But it's pretty funny too. And I kind of weirdly liked their dynamic. It's a shame that all came crashing down in the final season. Anyways, the Cruz scandal plotline of this season was entertaining as hell. All of the court hearing scenes were intense and had me on the edge of my seat. You can't make a Tomlet without breaking some Gregs. Those scenes are just absolute gold. And overall, season 2 of Succession is a wonderful continuation of the story that is filled with many great moments and, intriguing storylines, but just barely misses the mark for being my all-time favorite. Now, it's time to talk about season 1. From what I've gathered, this could definitely be seen as a hot take to most. I don't care though. Season 1 is without a doubt my favorite season of the show, and I tried to fight this ranking as much as possible. I really didn't like how I apparently believe each season gradually gets worse, but oh well. Season 1 is such a great introduction to this series. It really sets the stage for one hell of a ride, and I'm not going to necessarily say it hooked me right away though, but once you get to episode 6, everything changes, at least for me it did. I made a whole video going over episode 6 of season 1 and why I love it so much, but that really is a stellar episode of the show. Once you watch it, it's impossible to stop watching the rest of the season. The second half is where this one shines the most. Austerlitz is a brilliant episode that follows the aftermath of Which Side Are You On, and seeing Kendall fall back into drug use was really tragic. Prague is a solid installment, the Tom Bachelor's Party episode that I always have so much fun with. Really hilarious stuff in that one. And of course, the magnificent finale where Kendall gets the poor waiter killed at Tom and Shiv's wedding. That's such a huge moment for the series. And I remember the first time I watched it, I felt stunned, to be honest. Season 1 is just an enthralling journey, and I fell completely in love with this show because of this season. It's very captivating and is almost like a shock to the system in the best way possible. It just feels really special to me. And yes, that might be partly due to nostalgia, even though I just watched it for the first time only a few months ago, but all the characters seem so young, and I don't know, I really like the overall vibe. Greg is probably at his most likable this season, which I feel like is important to mention. He's yet to completely lose his soul and become just like the rest of the characters. I remember him being like my favorite character at the time, actually. Anyways, in general, I just appreciate how the story was established. And, without this season, we would never have gotten the rest of the show, of course. Jesse Armstrong and the rest of the crew really made sure that the series was off to an amazing start. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Definitely let me hear your ranking of the seasons down in the comments below. I'm super curious to see what you guys think. I'm sure we're going to have some differing opinions, but I do love this show, and I'm really going to miss it. I cannot believe it's over. It really is just so sad. But yeah, stay tuned for my top 10 favorite episodes video. That should be a lot of fun to do. And I already mentioned some of my favorite episodes in this video, but, you know, there'll be some others as well. And as always, if you guys liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, check out my Letterboxd and Twitter in the description. And yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Peace.